Parents, coaches, student athletes, welcome. Very excited to kick off what I hope to be a regular segment uh, each and every week. We've got so many requests from parents, student athletes to begin to discuss softball, women's sports recruiting. I know for the last 5 years, we've spent an awful lot of time discussing topics such as the portal, college recruiting for baseball, how to get, how to reach out to college coaches, et cetera. And with all of these requests, I took it upon myself several months ago, and I began to initiate some chat dialogue on X, formerly known as Twitter, with Cheri Naudin of Collegiate Sports Advocate. And what I found fascinating before I introduce Cheri is the literally the depth at which she goes while she's working with families and student athlete, and it just the look of the list of the schools that she's worked with and helped athletes be placed at, I thought was really fascinating. And so first and foremost, Cheri, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to join us today, and I'm excited to be talking with you, hopefully for the next several months.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you digging in. I think we found out that we've got a lot in common and a lot what we do to help student athletes. And like you said, we started in July of 2015, and I literally started it on the language of do what's in the best interest of the student athlete, and then everybody wins. And we've got a lot of logos, we've got a lot of travel teams, we've got a lot of people in sport that move it from their agenda versus what's right for the student athlete. So I've really stuck strong to that platform, and it's helped me. We've actually committed 662 student athletes in 10 years. We're very heavy on the softball and the female sports, and it's because of not only our reputation, but our relationships. So with that said, I can go off on any topic. So you tell me, Coach, which way you want to go.
Well, one of the things I would love for parents to understand, all you have to do, and we're going to list this in the description, I want to let parents and athletes know, no rush. Cheri's going to join us on a regular basis when her time allows. She's just as busy as I am, but we're going to cover a myriad of topics over the next several weeks. But I thought it would be best to introduce Cheri because at the core, she has several what she refers to as advocates, people, women that have played college athletics, men that have played college athletics, people that work on the athletes and the family's behalf. But I really wanted you to meet Cheri because I really think our vision with regard to trading athletic ability for academic excellence is a common thread. And so tell us, I really want parents to understand what made you get into this and what is it that you feel at this particular stage with regard to all the changes at the NCAA level that you're going to be able to offer parents as well as student athletes.
Oh, that's great. Well, first I'll start off, and my father-in-law said in Spanish to me, "Mija, no matter what, get my babies an education." So that's kind of how we raised our children. My son is an engineering graduate from Texas A&M. He is my partner in my business. My middle daughter is Shannon. She is Shannon Billings now. She played at the University of Kansas, got an undergraduate degree playing softball in the Big 12, then went on as a grad assistant and then an assistant at Harding University. Then spent 6 years at Hardin-Simmons. She spent 1 year at South Dakota State, and now is the head coach at Maryville in St. Louis. And she's a baller. She likes to win, and has a master's degree in sports management. So we're very proud of her. Our youngest one, we call her our baby. We call her Shell Bell, but it's Michelle Hemstedt. And she just recently got married. She was one of the best athletes we ever had in the family, but she chose soccer. And she said, "I want to play soccer." And we're like, "What? We play softball. This whole family plays baseball and softball. What are you doing?" But as 5'10" attacking forward, she, had something to say about it. She went to Central Arkansas, won a Southland Conference title. She also graduated, I think, #1 in her department in criminal sociology. Took the bar at a host college when she was playing soccer in season, and ended up getting a litigation law degree from Baylor University. She's a litigator for Title IX and NIL, which is ironic. And then, does a lot in her law firm, a boutique firm here in Dallas. But I say that because we're all very passionate about sport. We're very passionate about what it did for our children. My husband, by the name Naudin, you can tell he's Hispanic. First generation Mexican American, and him and his brothers and sisters are all top educated, PhDs and doctorate degrees. My husband's an MBA. It meant a lot to our family because what my father-in-law said is, you can't take it from you. Once you get that education, it's your choice then to take it where you want to take it. And so we really instilled that in our own children. And then I saw what sport did as a hiring manager, 28 years in telecom. A kid would walk in, I'd say, sit down, son, I can teach you to do your job, but I can't teach you the characteristic and the life skills that you learn being an athlete. And so that was before I had kids. And I really saw that they're hireable, if that's the right word, humans, right? They've been through adversity, diversity. They've had to work hard. They've had to be teammates. I mean, they've had to get through a lot, because to be a 1%er, you have to do the 99% that other people are not willing to do. So,
well, I would love for you to share, and folks, I want to let you know this is going to be a consistent part of the softball blue book, the baseball blue book, access to Cheri, access to her advocates or people within her staff. We're going to get to all of these questions, but I really want, Cheri, if you could take a minute, because as you go through the website, and I will be sharing that website in the description of both the podcast as well as here on the YouTube video, talk a little bit about some of the schools. I mean, because there's over 600 student athletes that we're talking about, but some of the schools that you have placed student athletes at with regard to softball, soccer, lacrosse, etc.
Fabulous. You'll hear me say this a lot. I'm on TikTok a lot. I'm on Twitter a lot. Is talent, then team, and then where you play. I do an individual platform with each student athlete to understand where they can play. So I have 3 kids playing at UPenn. I have one at Yale. I have one at Princeton. I love those universities, but not everybody can play there because their academics are right, or not everybody can have the academics and have the talent. So I do more of a talent mix. I take female athletes from 8th grade and 9th grade. That's my sweet spot for that, for those women, right? Because they're a little bit more physically mature. They're a little bit more mentally mature, honestly, at that age. No offense, young men, because it's reality, right? I can't fight the genetics, but they also have different routes. So I kind of leave that, up to you, Walter, and then other people. And I do have a baseball advocate on my side, but our specialty has always been the female side because of the relationships. So I seek out, and I and my staff of advocates, we say to the college coaches, come see us play. Take a look at our student athletes. We're not trying to call them up and go, oh, coach, I got this kid that throws 70 miles an hour overhand. Those metrics are there and they're available. So we're very proud of our landing page. And we've listened to the college coaches. I always give credit to the college coaches that they helped me build this company. And I can name the ones that it helped me, right? They've even done my templates for me. And it's because they know that I'm seeking the fit. And that when you're a CSA student athlete, it's about the fit.
Well, I really want to start there for parents of female athletes. And I think this is a really big, wide open area. We talk so much football, basketball, baseball, etc.
That's where the money is, right?
well, from the television perspective, yes. But as you know, and are very well aware of, and have a daughter that works within the realm of this dynamic, the Title IX dynamic is something that is very much at the heart of the current settlement situation and moving forward with regard to NCAA athletics. So I'd love for you to start with, you alluded to the 8th and 9th graders, that maybe that 14, 15-year-old student athlete at the softball level. Are you interacting with high school coaches, travel coaches? How are you identifying potential fits or student athletes for your program to begin to work with?
So I do. I look for the talent, the individual talent. I have a good eye for talent, being in the sport for 30 years, in soccer and softball. Obviously, seeing my daughter play Division I soccer, on top of it. But I listen to the coaches. I say, hey, coach, what do you think about this kid? Where could this kid play? Where do you see she's trending? And now that I've had almost 1,200 student athletes, it gives me a little bit more insight to help evaluate and give feedback and help kind of redirect the student athlete. So we have stickiness in our system. We call them accountability. So there's 3 pillars: time management, communication skills, and accountability. And at the end of each season, we review, sit down with the student athlete and their parent, and we talk about how did it go, what's happening, what's going on. And because recruiting is very compartmentalized now, when I started, they could come out 50 some odd days anytime they wanted. Now it's compartmentalized, and it is, you got 7 weeks in summer and you've got 6 weekends in fall, and that's it. So at the end of each season, we come back in, we say, how was that going for you and your son? And where are we going? And, what's happening, what's not? I got a phone call out to a parent right now that keeps getting Division III interest, but they're still stuck on that D1 trail. And I'm like, what is D1? D1 is nothing more than a label. It's not the experience. It's not the journey. It's not the end result. And when you look at my numbers, I'm really heavy on D1. But I won't promise that to somebody because it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right fit. I always say half of you are winners and half of you are losing. When you're in a losing season, it's not a D1 experience. They're looking at the TV and seeing the kids up on TV. And that's not necessarily the right fit for everybody. So it's feedback from college coaches.
What is the approximate age that college coaches for the families that you're working with, the student athletes that you're working with, at what age are college coaches beginning to, or looking to begin, or initiate communication, direct communication with the student athlete? For baseball, I believe softball is the same. It's August 1st of the rising junior fall. What is it, the interaction with the female athlete that you work with?
I call that a language play. So it depends on their talent level. So is it recruiting conversation? Well, then yes, we all have a deadline, right? So in volleyball, it's earlier, June at the end of their sophomore year. In softball, it's September 1st, and yet all of that's always on a change, right? This video is going to be old in 6 months when they make another change, right? But what people don't understand is the evaluation and the engagement with the student athletes that have the talent. I've had 8th graders out on camps, winky camps, right? And we call them winky camps because they are camps. They're doing it by the rules, but they're elite, and there's certain kids that are invited and certain ones that are not. And they do play heavily with the clubs, and yet some clubs steer them wrong, right? They're doing it to impress the club and posting letters in the email and, oh, look at me, I'm at a camp. Don't buy it, right? Some of that is intentional marketing to build the club instead of doing what's right for the student athlete. My advice on something like that is if you're getting an email to come to a camp, or you get it through your school, if you're getting it on email, it's not a recruiting camp. It's just a camp. If you want to go, that's great, but there's a lot of advice in there. Is your talent ready for that camp? So I would tell you, to answer it more directly, 8th grade, you've got an elite level kid. I have a pitcher that throws close to 70, and in the 8th grade, she was being very targeted, and she is very specific. And the mom and I, talk a lot about what's most important. She is an academic driven kid. She's going to choose academics over anything else. And yet she's possible NIL kind of money, because this is going to be a big kid in her class. But she had engagement back then. But the big coaches, they followed the rules very well because their haters are watching them, right? Oh, they just had a contact with that kid over there, and they're looking for trouble, right? So we play it clean, we play it safe. She's coming up. She's this summer is going to be big for her, and then September is going to come. And the emails, conversations, they can commit. I have Jasani Beecham that's at Florida State. She was Player of the Year as a freshman. 1201, she knew she was going to Florida State. And she didn't entertain anybody else because they show their cards along the way. They come to the sidelines, they engage, they interact, and she was very clear on where she was going. There was no questions whatsoever, and it's been a fantastic match for her. But that took her. We had her since the 7th grade. And she's a great kid. She gave me a compliment the other day and I screenshotted it. I almost cried. I'm like, oh my God, because she said, oh my God, it's irreplaceable, So we appreciate that, because the higher the talent, the higher the academics, the more help you need with an advocate like you and I.
Well, I will tell you, one of the things that drew me to Cheri a while ago was her enthusiasm. Not only do I watch some of the TikTok videos that you make, but I love your sincerity, and I love the rapport and the relationship, because you can see it in the athlete communication and the parental communication with you, with little comments and things like that. So I want to let parents know, female sports a little bit different. I'm going to ask Cheri the big question in the room that everybody has been asking me, which is it more what you refer to as club, we call travel ball? Is it more club ball? Is the narrative from the college coaches, let me see what they do in club ball? Are there interactions with the high school coaches? So many people now, what I call walk over or walk on the high school coaches and want to, surround themselves with the travel world. In baseball, that's happening. It's very aggressive. Travel ball has kind of consumed the athlete. How does that play with the female sports with regard to soccer and softball? Is it high school and club, or is it club heavy?
What a great question. And I got beat up. We had a video from TikTok get shared on Reels, and they beat us up because I said, with my experience, language, right? With my experience,
right,
almost 1,200 kids, I've yet to have a college interaction from high school or a kid playing high school ball only get recruited. And it's because it's worse in the female side. The talent level and the depth of talent on a softball team. A great example. I live in a little country town. It used to be 3A here in Texas. And we had a shortstop go to Baylor. Her sister went to Texas Tech. My daughter went to Kansas and had to play catcher. She'd never been a catcher. And the one that was playing soccer hit over 700 and was still playing softball in high school. But we had no pitching, and it was like, oh, there were not colleges. Those kids were committed before their high school careers were even notable. That was in early recruiting days. Now, even so, I'll show up at high school just to support the kids, right? There are some coaches that'll show. We have a travel ball coach that talks big schools in to come and sit on the sidelines. And that's just more for show. They're not recruiting them because of their high school experience. In fact, it might expose them negatively in their high school experience because they expect more out of those kids. Like, oh, I'll have a picture. Oh, I pitched a perfect game. And I did this in front of a Dallas Christian high school team. And I've got several of their boys. And I said, you want me to post your stats that you just pitched a perfect game? Well, sorry, but you just played the sorry sisters of Texas versus, hey, you're an amazing pitcher, because we all know. And that's the problem. The depth of talent in your opponent is the answer there. It's just not worth their time. And if it is, it's usually showboating to a club or, trying to show support to that student athlete that, hey, we really like you and we'll come to your sidelines. You're not going to sway them that way. They're going to make better decisions than just because you showed up from a different state to come sit in the sidelines in high school. It's irrelevant. It's showboating.
Well, one of the things that I would love, and this, you're going down a path that I really make a lot of enemies with, and I am not a proponent with regard to the club/travel step 11U, 12U, 13U, because when you get to high school, and obviously if the ultimate goal is to play in college, if you're a freshman, you're going to be playing against older female athletes. You're going to be playing against the 20, 23, 24-year-olds in some cases. How does that work with regard to softball? Do you encourage your athletes to try to strive to play against older, higher level competition, or do you kind of let them stay down and kind of go age year by year?
So I'll go way back and tell you my husband's won 4 national titles, and we won it in 10s, 12s, 14s. And, he had the talent to do it. And he did it recently in Texas with a sanctioning body called Alliance, which is one of the top 2 in the country. So I am a proponent of travel ball because I think it differentiates those that can and those that cannot. Now, money always becomes an issue, right? And my heart hurts. I just got done telling a travel ball coach this morning, man, we're not the YMCA. If you want to play at the elite level, unfortunately, and I say that with lots of disclaimers, unfortunately, it costs money. And it is because a matter of the college coaches' time. We are helping, we're like farm teams when they're travel teams. We're helping dilute those that can and those that cannot. If you got a kid that can and they cannot afford the money, man, travel clubs will go out and help you do fundraisers and donations from companies and things like that. There's a way for that particular kid, but we're talking about really 1 in a million that are actually in that situation. Most of them use it as an excuse to not be better. They're going to stay home. They're going to save money. They're going to play in their local market. We co-host with a guy from Voodoo named Jason Mart, and he says, "Oh, that's called backyard ball down here." It's backyard ball. It's not travel ball. You can wear the same logo and you can be 10 layers down, but we all know which one team in each organization is the elite team that has the elite athletes. And so we're helping sort out the talent before it even gets to the coaches. That's why that works. And there's a lot of money grabs. We represent some baseball boys here in our metro, and there's a lot of clubs that do it right, and there's a lot of I call them gimmicks or promotional things, and I don't want to name them because I think they're great, but it works for some kids and it doesn't work for some kids. Stats and metrics will negatively expose some kids. Maybe they're not ready for that exposure, and that's why you need a person like me or you to come in and say, "You're not ready for that, son. Let's get that arm fixed. Let's work on some mechanics. And then let's go to," again, I love 5-tool and I love PG, but at the right time and in the right showcase environment. And you've got to have somebody like you or me deciding whether or not your talent's ready to be exposed. It's not exposure, it's exposed.
Now, that's the term, and I have used that for decades. When families are in a rush, and in today's social media world, one push of a button with your thumb, and the videos are going to be out there, and then there's people taking screenshots. So let's talk about exposure, which is what everybody is seeking, versus being exposed. And
this is like right here in my heart,
right,
Walter.
and so a lot of times I'll get parents that will say, "Boy, I didn't expect you to react so negatively." And I'll say, "Well, you're trying to tell a college coach that this is a future shortstop, but the shortstop doesn't come across. The foot speed's not there, the arm strength's not there, the fielding, the routes to the baseball, etc. All of the things that you want to brush up, polish, get developed, from not only a skill set, but size, physicality." Let's talk about exposure versus exposed, because as you and I both know, college coaches have memories like an elephant. So the minute they see someone or something that they don't like, they're going to remember that for a lot longer than the little blip that they did like. That's going to carry more weight than the little thing they did correctly. So
I always say
that.
You can't unsee it. You cannot unsee it. And I always say, again in Spanish, pobrecita, their intentions are good. Their travel ball coaches are saying, put content out there, content. I've had college coaches call it vomit. Stop vomiting on social media, because an SEC coach, she's one of my favorites. I got a big superstar redshirt freshman there right now. She said, "You're just giving me information to take you off my list, because I got more than 1,000 kids on my list I need to see this summer. If you're putting live content out there, if you're pitching in a cage or you're hitting in a cage." I saw one last night. I had to screenshot it and send it to one of my advocates. And I said, "Please make sure we are not dealing with this club, because this is a club in my metro that is telling them to put weekly content and more information. And they're the ones that hold up this marketing 5 color brochure coming from a university saying they're getting recruited, and it's a lie." And what the parents don't understand is you're setting your kid up for failure. And then you don't understand, why did my kid not get recruited? And well, I did everything my coach said. And what really happens over my 10 years in this metro is that kid will leave your team because you gave them a false expectation of making it, or worse. There's 2 kids in college that I've known for years. I did not represent them. I feel my heart aches for them, but they had parents that were masters in marketing, and they got their kid in places that never delivered the results because they wowed coaches. And shame on the coaches, right? Some of them aren't there anymore, right? They get fired because they do a bad job of buying the sizzle instead of the substance. And I am a master marketer. Follow this model and you will never fail. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Who wants to see that? Not your friends and family. I'll argue with these parents about, posting their kids' stuff all over Facebook. I told a mom the other day, your parents really, your family really doesn't want to see that every day. Okay. I promise you, I was that parent, but your grandmas, aunts, and uncles and all that do not want to see that content every day. It's just too much. So our platform is Cindy, and I've got one in my inbox right now. End of season offense, end of season defense. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm giving you free content. But if you don't understand that Twitter is an open platform, you're not direct marketing that to somebody. Instagram is just to show how pretty they are and who their friends are, and ladies in bathing suits. I'm sorry, I'm old fashioned. I don't have tattoos all over my arms, and I'm not in my bathing suit. Okay. If that's your thing, that's great, but you're exposing yourself. Twitter, I like, because Twitter is Twitter and you can interact or you don't. But even the video up there is just more fun. The college coaches, this is the aha, probably the big nugget of the day. Most college coaches are not sitting at their desk scrolling through social media. One coach called it happenstance. I might happen upon something, but I've never recruited it. I'm just going to send you a message on Twitter and say, come to my camp. Camp. Almost 1,200 kids. I've never had a kid go to camp first, never been seen before, and get into the recruiting process and get recruited. It's backwards. You go once they've seen you play and they deem you, then you go to those secret special camps and then you get recruited. I mean, I say it over and over again. I feel like a broken record, but those who buy in and do it right, man, we had 187 coaches show up to one team last year because I had 15 kids on that team doing it right. Now, only one Power 4 conference kid, guess what? They still won big tournaments because they were still ballers and they were playing the game right. They weren't measuring themselves on whether or not they were going to LSU or Georgia. You can't play it that way. So,
well, I want to kind of, I have two questions that come to mind. The first quick question is, are you a fan of, especially for the softball, soccer, lacrosse, all the sports, tagging college coaches like, hey, Miss LSU, Pat Murphy, Alabama softball, look at me. Is tagging the coaches making a difference? That's question one.
So it's funny you say his name because I love Coach Murphy. He actually said at a camp, oh, sure, tag me. Well, guess what? I promise you he's not answering Twitter, okay? In the Power 4, somebody else is managing their things. There might be some that do it. I love Larissa Anderson at Mizzou. I think she's amazing. I've got 3 there. She has a great culture. I can tell she does her social media, right? Because she has that vision and mission and she's putting it out there from her personal Twitter page. So the issue is that they don't like it. They're the ones that say, one in the Big Ten, who used to be Pac-12, said, I feel like you're hijacking my social media because it's just, oh. And then worse, from a marketing perspective, you tag Baylor and you tag Harding in Division II in Arkansas, and you're a slapper and you can hit and you can play. What's your message? What I hear is you want a faith-based experience. But what you're doing is tagging Baylor and tagging a Division II that is a great Division II, but they are not in the same talent category at all.
Right.
So we're mismatching. And I have my hands out because I say you're showing your hands when you're tagging coaches. And I had another coach say, why didn't you tag me? I'm the one that likes you. So it's also personal to them. And then it goes into a mention box instead of right there. And it doesn't help you get there any better. The tags are very, very important and sometimes not important. It depends on what you do. So you'll see me and our social media tagging certain people and resharing. Like we're sitting on 12,000 Twitter people, and it's authentic. It's not purchased Twitter things, and it's our sports coaches. And then they look, and it might be shown up higher in Baylor's feed because you're liking it, somebody else is liking it, and we all have the same or similar friends. They might see something like that better, but it's hashtag not intentional, right? I call it let's be intentional. Be intentional. And you're a decision maker, right? Do it the way the decision makers want it. They're not any happier with 3 million emails being sent every day, but that's their process. And that's what NCAA says is their process. Follow their process. If they cheat it, they get caught. And we don't need to cheat it when your talent is right. And when you're hitting in the right sector or the right layer, your talent will defy any of those odds. But that brings up another one, right? There's a whole bunch of people that don't understand the talent that's sitting above them because they're not playing travel ball at that elite level. They don't see it. They think their team's real good because they're good in this area or that area, right? I'm in a major metro. We know who's good.
Well, I think parents can figure out real quick. If you're a parent or student athlete, you're watching this, pretty clear why I took the time to really study and look into Cheri, because we have synergy, we have similar mindsets, and I really value her processes. And that, this industry with regard to working with parents and student athletes sometimes lacks a consistency, but quality.
Yes.
You don't want the quantity. You really want
authenticity.
Authenticity is the next word I was going to use, because Cheri and I have relationships with adults. We're not peddling a product. We're dealing and interacting with student athletes, parents, people. And the only way for you as a parent or a student athlete to find success is to have people that are trusted, that you can trust, with being able to tell you what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear. Because college athletics, as we all know, are changing rapidly. And right now we're in the middle of a delay, with regard to Judge Wilkin in Oakland, kind of delaying the settlement agreement. And rightfully so, if you are the parent of a student athlete that was about to lose a roster spot. But that's a story for another day. I want parents to understand, tell them, Cheri, how do you want people to contact you? Because we are going to promote and make sure in the description, again, softball blue book, baseball blue book. Cheri's going to be in the baseball blue book. She does deal with baseball athletes, by the way.
Thank you.
As well as softball blue book. You're going to be able to have all her contact information. So I want parents to understand, this is not about flooding Cheri and saying, look at my video and how are you talented. You hear Cheri saying 8th, 9th grade. So if you're the parent of a female student athlete, a male student athlete. Now, I think 8th and 9th grade is more about physical development with regard to the men's athletics. And here's an interesting point, and I want to digress quickly. The softball field and the soccer field, they don't change on the 8th and 9th graders or the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. Where with baseball, you're talking about dimensions going from 45, 60, 50, 70 to 60, 90, fences going from 200, 225 feet to 350 to 400 feet. So there are some growth or strength metrics with regard to the college baseball world that probably are not applicable because softball is similar mound to home plate, fence dimensions. They tend to be similar from 7th grade all the way through college. And so I want to ask real quick, do you find that college coaches believe if they see the softball player at the younger ages, they know, okay, she can handle herself. It's going to translate as she gets older and gets stronger. Do you kind of feel like the college coaches are more comfortable with the female athletes from a softball perspective, as opposed to baseball, where there's still a lot of growth that has to occur from a physicality perspective?
Yeah, I think some parents would take offense to this, but man, when I saw Sierra Romero at 9 years old and she came in like this, and her dad said, "Hey, do whatever you need to do, coach her," I'm like, I'm not touching the kid. Barrel to the ball. You are amazing. Let's go. That elite level athlete, that 5-star athlete, it's a God-given talent. And then what you do with it. And like I said, the conversation I was having with a coach today, man, there's some talented kids that parents make bad decisions and actually block their kids' advancement by making bad decisions. That's why the word advocate means so much, right? Helping you through the journey for your student athlete's talent level. And another podcast I just did, a young lady said something about, Michael Jordan, right? And Michael Jordan, he defied the odds. When he got into college, he was better. And I think that's more likely to happen with a boy because their physical maturity is different. But he was still an amazing, talented student athlete early enough. And I think that's where parents will get a little overboard. But man, what you control, how you influence it, all happens in the backyard in these games. It doesn't happen on the field. They're missing understanding what the game is about. Somebody asked me to do my report and a video on the bench, right? I wrote a very famous document 10, 11 years ago on the bench, and it gets viral. And I said, okay, that thing's ready to come out again. Okay, we're going to do it. So, it's those types of components that are in the system that are hard to defy. When you have talent, then making the right decisions along the way is how you do it. But college interest isn't happening in 7th and 8th grade like it used to, thank God. But that elite level kid, they want their eyeballs on because they want to see the decisions the parents are making, the travel teams that help develop them up. There are coaches that will call my husband and say, hey, I need this kid on your team. I need her ready to play when she gets to college. So there's a lot of moving pieces that happen in relationships that are extremely important. And just because the brand has a relationship doesn't mean the coach has the relationship. So, you need to know what you need to know before you go out and do what you do, right? So
that's so true. You really have to have an advocate that's working with you from both a physical as well as mental development process to understand that when you do get to those higher levels within travel ball, the elite athletes, the cream is always going to rise, and the margin of separation between a recruitable athlete and a non-recruitable athlete, so many variables, character, how they communicate, etc. And that is why I feel very comfortable moving forward to have families interact with Cheri. We're going to have her X/Twitter handle. We'll have her website listed. And Cheri, how do you prefer to be contacted? Because parents are obviously going to want to reach out and begin to work with you. So how would you like to be contacted?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I like our website, www.collegiatesportsadvocate.com. Hit contact us. Tell me how you saw this and tell me what your interest is. I will give anybody a free conversation. I am not somebody who charges you to come and have a consultation. I will give you everything I've got in the first half hour, and you can decide whether or not we're a match, because I am looking for great kids from great families with great teams and great grades. That's the magical recipe. Yeah, bingo, right? High five. I think that's the bingo. And, obviously it's easier to help because the numbers are here. There's 8,000 kids that play softball in college, 425 Division III schools, 300 D1, 300 D2s. And these are all approximate because it's changing, right? We have a lot of schools opting out. That's another conversation we could have. And then you have junior college. Junior college is becoming far more important in girls softball than it's ever been in the past. I would say look at the life cycle of baseball. 5-10 years ago, they were going through what we're going through now. And if people understand that, then they don't make it so personal about their daughter and their behavior. But I said, it's just common sense. If I've got a JUCO transfer going in as a junior, she's going to be far more talented and adept and ready to play against those big girls, full-grown women that have been playing the sport, versus an incoming freshman who's still, maturing and growing. And like you said about playing travel ball up, that doesn't happen in our sport. You've got to play against your talent level at the age group, at the elite level in order to be considered. People say, oh, but my freshman's playing 18 and under travel. Well, because she can. That just tells me that 18 and under travel team ain't so good. Okay. And then people don't like my honesty, but I'm just trying to help. Well, it's too far to travel. Well, all these excuses, and they are real, but they are excuses to not doing what you need to do. If that's what your kid is and that's where they're bound, man, pack up the bags. I drove a little Honda Civic all the way to Sanford for, elite club soccer twice a year with my kid because we couldn't afford to get on an airplane for nationals with soccer to go from Dallas to Orlando during the holiday. So we drove my little beep beep, we called it, all the way to Orlando, and my kid played at the elite club national, and that's what you had to do.
I did the same thing in a Prius in 2009 with my youngest son from Boston to Atlanta. So parents, I want to let you know a couple of things. First of all, if you like this video, is this what you wanted? Is this what you've requested? Comment, reach out to Cheri, let her know where you saw the video. I want to make sure that parents, this is going to be a regular formatted type of video content that we're going to provide. We'll get to all the questions, but submit your questions. Submit your questions to Cheri. Submit your questions.
We want to know. We'll give you what you need to know, right?
Right. And if you haven't figured it out by now, there's a lot of symmetry between Cheri and I as far as academics, they matter. Character, that matters. Talent, that matters. These are the types of topics that we will cover in depth over the next several months. And there are a lot of changes at all levels of college athletics. It's not just a Division I topic. The JUCOs are getting overloaded. The fallbacks into D3. We're going to have Kevin Griffin, his son
60
Connor.
kids on a JUCO roster.
Yeah, it's more than 100 on baseball. I can tell you
Woo,
that.
well, that's what I mean. I saw one the other day, a JUCO boys roster with 60. I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah, and these are the topics that we're going to try to bring awareness. We're not trying to pick on anybody. When you're making decisions, you need to be informed, and you need candid, honest feedback so that you're making the right decision for the right fit for your student athlete. Trust me when I tell you, I am getting besieged with portal athletes. It's no fun. It's no joy for parents to be out of school, back into a school, back out of a school. Too many changes, and it really goes. It's counterproductive at some point. So
well, let's do the portal next week, because I just did a TikTok about that this morning, and there's so much advice to give them before they get in it.
So there you go. Next week, we're going to talk with Cheri at Collegiate Sports Advocate.com about the transfer portal. But if you have a specific question, comment down below. Give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe because it's free. So, Cheri, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I'm really looking forward to growing and nurturing this relationship because I think it's going to be beneficial for parents and student athletes. And I really love your energy, and I love what you've been doing for the last 10, 11 years. And I'm looking forward to expanding that on an ongoing basis. And thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. And parents, bring it on. Let's go.